Initially, I don't know, I just always been a huge fan of just colors and just everything that fell under the title of art. But I'm a big believer that we're all born artists. It's just that obstacles in life always just make us, challenge us and make us go in different directions. So I think that I just, challenge the idea of what it means to be an artist, what it means not to have a background in school. So it's a constant challenge and doing, so I'm here now. Creative process for me is always, I source a lot from traveling a lot. So I am first generation Nicaraguan. So taking trips as a child to Nicaragua with my parents, I started realizing our rich culture that was not very explained and passed on. It has this hard, being first generation in Miami and losing the culture and your parents trying to adopt to a new lifestyle. So everything came strictly from research and just trying to find out where my parents come from, where my family and my ancestors come from. And throughout the years of strictly studying Nicaraguan pottery and the land and a lifestyle, I've directed myself back towards the Miami lifestyle because I am first generation Miami, like I said, and just challenging a lot of us face this whole first generation identity with no passage or direction and what to take because this is new. We're new and we're the first, I guess, when you speak it out that we are first generation, doesn't matter what your background is, in Miami and other parts of the world. So it's just strictly a continuation of study of my lineage plus adding towards it, looking back of what I've already lived through in Miami. Inspiration comes strictly from just traveling and reading, and I'm also a big fan of archival work. So I do like to work with pre-Columbian works, and also besides loving history of ceramics and archival work and stuff like that, I like to source and from the pop culture that we currently live in, obviously with the arts and the music and fashion and just, challenging what does this mean, pop culture, and just bringing all the two things together. Because honestly, it's just, I have a lot of personalities and they don't make sense when they come together. So I'm just trying my best to make them coexist. I love ceramics. I've always been a big fan of Play-Doh when I was a child, so it's just a continuation of that. Even when I try to do a little bit of painting, I was never a fan of the 2D. Even trying to recreate the 2D on the 3D on a painting, I always incorporated clay. So the clay for me, it was a little bit more important and more sacred because it does use the 4 elements when you are working with it, and it's the land giving you a piece of the land, and I've just been working with it ever since I started realizing its power, its spiritual power that it has, and I just can't stop. I love the organic matter of it. The show in particular, I think the most important message of it all, because there's too much themes going on in this show. I can never stick to a theme. But I think the most important thing is that everyone sees themselves in all the works, because in the end of the day, this is a personal story, but I want everyone to be seen within these stories. All of the first generation voices that are quiet, and all of our parents who were just, too concentrated in trying to survive in America. So it's just I want all of our, our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents to be seen in all these works. Doesn't matter where you come from. So I worked during the pandemic. I worked since before, during, happening, and I worked at a grocery store. So I actually got to see the way that people reacted towards, lack of supply and the greediness of people as well, just trying to get all these things and people fighting at supermarkets for stuff. So it was very interesting to have that perspective. And then I don't know, at the end of the day, it was just I would go to work. Work was stressful, but it was chilled, and just come home, and I would always do pottery on the side, try to create something in my home. And honestly, I think that it was just I don't even know how to explain it. It's just I have a different perspective with like people who were on lockdown and not being able to go to their job when I was required to go to work and stuff like that. So it's hard. I honestly like I'd even have time to process the pandemic itself because we were on high demand. Cliche, but like just to never give up because honestly like it's worth it in the end. Like, you know, like if you really love something, you're gonna find the time to do it. Doesn't matter how many jobs you worked at, how many jobs you work currently, you always find time for your craft. And the more you invest in it, the more it pays off in the end. The works here, even though they do share a space, they all have a different story and aspect to it. Most of them are influenced by certain musics that I listen, certain songs that I'm listening to currently at the studio. Sometimes I like to even, you know, when working, I like to even, like, I hear a lyric that speaks to me in a way. It doesn't have to be that deep or poetic. I could literally just write it on the piece. And then also just incorporating pop culture and mixing different eras. And yeah, it's just, you know, bringing them all together in dialogue, but not, and just speaking as a whole, I would say. Each of the works are rooted in pre-Columbian studies that I've made of being from Nicaragua, and just throughout the years I have expanded with just, you know, experimenting with different cultures and pop eras and current modern, and just bringing everything together in dialogue. And it's just a way for you know, for people to feel seen in a way, and also my own self to be seen, because, you know, here you're always like constantly wanting to fit this American lifestyle, but then I think the American lifestyle is very strange as well, because in Miami it doesn't exist in a way. Well, sometimes. Miami is very different, which I'm very grateful for. So not a lot of adjustments had to be being here, and my environment affects me very deeply in my work. So I'm super grateful to bring one piece and just have multiple stories within one piece of work. I think working in Miami has a huge influence in my work as well, because as I stated, the pieces itself, I want them to, they bring in dialogue all the different cultures that make up Miami, and also what I had the privilege of growing up with Cubans, Haitians, Colombians, and different Central Americans as well, the Nicaraguans. And this is just like, you know, is a specific route where I'm coming from, but it's a way of, you know, making everyone feel seen and welcome. So the pieces are very Miami, even though they're rooted in Nicaraguan roots. But, you know, it's like, you know, celebrating the stuff that we share in common as well, without, by like, you know, challenging Latinidad and stepping away from a term that just puts us all in a box, when, you know, we are like, each work here studies that there's something more than just one word that rooted in Europe. So it's you know, it just challenges this whole movement as well in a different aspect, you know, where we can all have our own identity.